When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in my living room. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but no dream had ever felt so real, so terrifying, and so final.
The testimonies featured on this channel are presented as received, reflecting the personal experience and perspectives of the individuals who have generously shared them with us. We encourage our viewers to approach these testimonies with compassion and understanding, as these are personal testimonies of people involved. We also encourage you to always refer to the Holy Bible and the teachings of Jesus Christ and his apostles for guidance. You can consider subscribing to the channel to support our ministry. It was supposed to be just another ordinary afternoon for 45-year-old Mimah, a devoted Muslim wife and mother of 3. She prayed, fasted, gave to charity, and had even gone to Mecca, believing she was on the sure path to Jannah. But beneath her calm devotion, she carried questions no one dared to answer. Was she truly forgiven? Would her deeds really be enough? That day, a sudden pain in her chest sent her collapsing to the floor. Moments later, she was gone, her body still, her breathing stopped. But death was not the end. Mimah found herself leaving her body, drawn to her light unlike any she had ever seen, yet hearing the horrifying screams of people she knew. People she thought were guaranteed paradise. Then, a voice called to her. It was not Allah. It was not Muhammad. It was Jesus. And what he told her shattered everything she thought she knew about salvation, Jannah, and the only way to eternal life. She returned with a message that would cost her everything: her home, her family, and her safety. Now, in her own words, she is ready to tell you what she saw, heard, and learned the day she died. Let's hear from Mimah.
I was standing in a place that seemed endless. Behind me was a darkness so thick it felt alive, and from that darkness came screams, human screams, unlike anything I had ever heard. My heart raced. The smell of burning flesh, the heat of a fire I could not see, the cries for mercy, all of it hit me at once. I covered my ears, but the sound went straight into my soul. I turned around and saw faces, familiar faces. I recognized the butcher from my street, my old Quran teacher, and even a woman from my mosque who had been praised for her piety. They were reaching out, their skin burning, their eyes full of desperation. "Why are you here?" I shouted at them. "You prayed. You fasted. You gave to the poor." Before they could answer, a voice from ahead of me spoke, a voice unlike any I had ever heard. It was powerful, but full of love that made me want to weep. They tried to reach God without the only way, the voice said. They followed religion, but they rejected the truth. I turned toward the voice. From the distance, I saw a light, not like sunlight, but alive. It pulled me forward, and though I was terrified, I couldn't resist it. As I drew closer, a figure emerged from the light. He was clothed in brilliant white, and his face, oh, his face! It was so radiant that I could barely look at him. But his eyes, they looked straight into me, knowing every secret, every sin, every fear, and yet they were full of kindness. My breath caught. Who are you?" I whispered, though somehow, deep inside, I already knew. "I am Jesus," he said. "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." My knees grew weak. "But I'm a Muslim. I have prayed, fasted, obeyed the laws. I thought if I was good enough." He shook his head gently. "Your goodness cannot erase your sin. Mimah, you cannot buy your way into heaven with works. Only my sacrifice, my blood shed for you, can make you clean. Without me, there is no forgiveness. Without me, there is no Jannah." Tears streamed down my face. Everything I had believed, everything I had been taught since childhood, suddenly felt like sand slipping through my fingers. "But I was told you were just a prophet," I said, my voice trembling. His gaze grew even softer. I am more than a prophet. I am the Son of God, sent to give my life for you. I am the only door to eternal life. Mimah, I have loved you since before you were born. I call you now, follow me. I fell to my knees. But if I follow you, I will lose everything. My husband, my children, my family. He stepped closer and lifted my chin. If you lose them for my sake, you will gain far more in eternity. I will never leave you. Even if the world rejects you, I will hold you. In that moment, I knew I had to choose. My mind screamed for the safety of my old life, but my heart knew the truth. There was no other way. With trembling hands, I reached out and took his hand. The moment I touched him, peace washed over me like a river. It filled every empty place inside me. Then, as quickly as I had left, I was back in my body, gasping for air. I could hear screaming and crying. My husband was hovering over me, eyes wide with shock. Neighbors were gathered, some clutching their scarves, others murmuring prayers. She's alive! Allahu Akbar, someone shouted. But as I lay there, I knew what had just happened had nothing to do with Allah. It was Jesus who had brought me back. Over the next few days, I couldn't keep it to myself. I began telling my husband about the light, the vision, and the words Jesus spoke to me. His face hardened. At first, he said I must have been hallucinating. But the more I told the story, the angrier he became. One night, he slammed his fist on the table. Stop this talk about Jesus. You are Muslim. You will always be Muslim. If anyone hears this, we will be shamed. I looked him straight in the eye and said, I cannot deny what I saw. I cannot deny the truth. Jesus is the only way to Jannah. That was the night I stopped being his wife in his eyes. It started with silence. Then came the cold stares. Then, one morning, I woke to find my clothes thrown into the courtyard. My husband stood at the door. Leave. If you stay, I will call the elders. You will lose everything. I begged to see my children, but he turned his back. The door slammed, and I was left standing in the street with nothing but the clothes on my back and the truth in my heart. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know how I would eat or where I would sleep. But I kept hearing his words in my spirit, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. That was only the beginning of my journey. After my husband threw me out, I wandered aimlessly through the narrow streets of our town. It was evening, and the air carried the smell of roasting meat from food stalls I could no longer afford. My feet ached, my throat burned from thirst, and my heart was breaking into pieces. Every corner I turned, I expected to see my children running toward me, but they never came. I could hear their voices in my mind, the way they used to call Mama when they came home from school. I slept that night under a small, abandoned shed behind a shop. The ground was cold and rough. My stomach growled, but worse than hunger was the loneliness. I whispered into the darkness, Jesus. You said you would be with me, but where are you now? In the stillness, I felt something, not a sound, not a vision, but a warmth that wrapped around my heart. It was as if he was whispering directly into my soul, I am here, Mimah. I have not left you. The next morning, I tried to approach a neighbor I had known for years, hoping she might give me food. But as soon as she saw me, she spat on the ground and shouted, Traitor! Infidel! She slammed her door so hard the walls seemed to shake. Word had spread. People crossed the street to avoid me. Some shouted insults, others looked at me as if I carried a deadly disease. Days passed like this. I ate scraps from the market floor, drank from public taps, and found shelter wherever I could hide. But in my spirit, something was changing. I no longer prayed the old prayers from the Quran. I spoke directly to Jesus. I didn't know all the right words, but I spoke to him as if he were right beside me. And every time I did, I felt that same peace I had felt in the light. One day, something happened that I will never forget. I was sitting by the edge of the market, weak from hunger, when a man in his early 50s approached me. He had kind eyes, and unlike everyone else, he didn't look at me with hatred. He knelt down and asked softly, "Are you Mimah?" My heart pounded. "Yes, but who are you?" "I am a follower of Jesus," he said quietly, looking around to make sure no one overheard. "I heard what happened to you. Come with me." Fear and hope wrestled inside me. Was this a trap? Or an answer to my prayers? After a moment, I decided to follow. He led me through winding alleys to a small, hidden room behind a bakery. There, I met two women and another man. They smiled at me, genuine smiles, the first I'd seen in weeks. They gave me bread and tea. As I ate, they told me they were part of a small underground church in our town. "We heard about your testimony," one of the women said. "We believe Jesus sent you to us. You are not alone anymore." Tears streamed down my face. For the first time since my husband cast me out, I felt safe. That night, in that small room lit by a single candle, we worshipped quietly together. No microphones, no speakers, just whispered prayers and songs of praise to Jesus. But safety did not last long. A week later, we were gathered in that same room when a loud banging shook the door. My heart froze. Voices shouted outside, angry, accusing voices. Someone had betrayed us. The man who first brought me there whispered, "Run, Mimah. Now." He pointed toward a back exit. I didn't want to leave them, but he insisted. I slipped out into the alley, my heart pounding. From the shadows, I saw the front door break open. Men stormed inside. Shouts turned into screams. I fled into the night, tears blurring my vision. I didn't know if my new friends were arrested, beaten, or worse. But I knew this, following Jesus was far more dangerous than I had imagined. And yet, I couldn't turn back. That night, I slept in a narrow alley between two buildings, my body shaking from fear. In the darkness, I whispered, "Jesus, why is this happening? Why do they hate me?" And in the silence, I felt his answer in my spirit, "They hated me first. But I have overcome the world. You are mine." Those words became my strength. Even though I had nothing, no home, no children, no protection, I had him. And I knew that was enough. But what I didn't know was that my biggest test was still ahead, and it would come from the one person I thought I could still trust. Weeks had passed since I escaped the raid on the underground church. I had been moving from place to place, sleeping in abandoned shops, sometimes under staircases, eating whatever scraps I could find. I had no way of contacting my children. Every night, I cried myself to sleep, clutching the memory of their faces and praying that one day they would hear the truth about Jesus. One evening, as I sat by the back of a deserted shop eating a stale piece of bread, a shadow fell across me. I looked up, and my heart stopped. It was my husband. For a moment, neither of us spoke. His face was hard, his jaw clenched, but there was something in his eyes I couldn't read. "Mimah," he said slowly, "come with me. We need to talk." My heart raced. Part of me wanted to run into his arms and beg to see our children. Another part of me remembered the rage in his eyes the night he threw me out. "I won't come back to Islam," I said quietly. "If that's why you're here, I can't." He shook his head, almost impatiently. "Just come." Against my better judgment, I followed him. We walked in silence through narrow streets until we reached an empty storage room at the back of a building I didn't recognize. He shut the door behind us. "You have shamed me," he began. "You have shamed our family, our name. Do you know what people are saying? That my wife has become a kafir, a follower of the false god of the Christians." "He is not false," I said softly. "I saw him, I spoke to him. Jesus is alive. He is the Son of God. He is the only way to Jannah." Something flashed in his eyes, anger, but also something darker. "Do you think I care about your visions? Do you think I will let my children be poisoned by your lies?" My voice broke. "Please, just let me see them. Let me tell them I love them." He took a step closer. His voice dropped into a cold whisper. "You will never see them again unless you return. Renounce this Jesus, say the Shahada, and I will take you home tonight. You will sleep in your bed. You will be their mother again." For a moment, the temptation was almost unbearable. The image of my children's faces filled my mind. The longing to hold them, to hear them call me Mama again, clawed at my heart. But then I remembered the fire, the screams, the words Jesus spoke. "Without me, there is no Jannah." Tears streamed down my face. "I can't," I whispered. "Even for them, I can't deny him." His face twisted with rage. He raised his hand, and for a split second, I thought he was going to hit me. But instead, he stepped back and pointed to the door. "Then go. You are dead to me. Dead to this family. If you ever come near them, I will tell the elders to make sure you disappear." I walked out with shaking legs, my heart breaking into pieces, but my spirit unbroken. That night, as I sat alone in the dark, I wept harder than I ever had in my life. I told Jesus I didn't understand why following him had to cost me my children. And in that quiet moment, he spoke to my heart. "Whoever loves father or mother, son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. But whoever loses their life for my sake will find it." It wasn't the answer I wanted, but it was the truth I needed. In the weeks that followed, I found another small group of believers. They took me in, gave me a place to sleep, and began teaching me more about the Bible. Every day, I learned something new about the Jesus who had pulled me out of darkness and given me eternal life. Sometimes I still ache for my children. Sometimes the loneliness is so heavy I can hardly breathe. But I know this, the day I died, I met the one who gave his life for me. And no matter what I have lost, I have gained something far greater: salvation, forgiveness, and the promise of eternal life with him. If you are hearing my story today, I beg you, don't wait until it's too late. I saw what happens to those who try to reach God without Jesus. I heard their cries. I saw their agony. And I saw the light. His name is Jesus. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Without him, there is no Jannah. Without him, there is no hope. With him, there is life even after death. That is the truth I am willing to live for. That is the truth I am willing to die for.